average age of an African is 19. 15 to 20 million high school graduates every year come out, and universities can only take 2 million of them. So if you build any form of education training institution, you're immediately flooded with candidates. You don't have to worry about finding the talent. And, there are increasingly cost-effective ways of developing that talent. So that problem is solvable, and, and you just need to execute it. The demand side is more complex. It's not that there isn't a lack of demand for talent. It's that we need to deliver that talent in a way that the market actually wants it to. So when I began this journey of developing tech talent, we thought that the people who would take our talent would be product companies like Google and Facebook and Microsoft and Amazon. We said, we need to attract them to come and set up operations in Africa. And Microsoft announced that they are opening a development center in Nairobi and Lagos. And then the next week, Google announced a similar thing. And then Amazon Web Services coming here. So I was like, it's about getting more of those companies to come here. But I started looking at the issue a bit more nuancedly and looking at ecosystems that have developed in Israel and Eastern Europe and Latin America and USA and India. And what I found is that the people who are actually going to employ this talent at scale are not the Googles and the Facebooks and the Microsofts, the so-called product companies. So what I came to learn is that there are basically two types of employers of tech talent. There are product companies, which are the ones that we all know about, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and all the tech startups that we hear about. And then there are service companies. And the service companies are companies that customize products for companies and develop custom software for companies. Because Google will sell you their software. You can't go into Google and change the configuration. You use it as it is. Spotify, you use it as it is. But service companies will come to you and say, what problem do you want to solve? And then I'll build software for you. I'll configure an existing platform for you. Now, it turns out that Israel, the USA, and other countries that had small populations or didn't have a youth bulge necessarily have chosen the product route. What the product route does is it creates very few jobs and a few billionaires. So you'll have Steve Jobs, you'll have Bill Gates, you'll have all these guys. There tends to be one winner in a category. So Google has 92% of the market, and for every Google you have a wasteland of people who tried to be Google. Ask Jeeves and Lycos and Yahoo and all these things. Spotify will take, Amazon will take a huge chunk, and everyone else will be pretty much left in the wins. So these companies, what we found out is that service companies employ 100 to 300 times more people than the product companies. And so Salesforce has 70,000 employees, but the ecosystem of people who do Salesforce implementation is going to have 9.3 million people by 2026. Amazon Web Services has 100,000 employees. They predict that their ecosystem of people who implement AWS will be 30 million by 2030. So India went the services route because they also had a population problem similar to to Africa. And today they have 6 million software engineers that work directly in the sector. They create 18 million jobs indirectly. And they don't have a lot of billionaires, but they've got lots of middle class people that work in the tech sector, right? So when I look at the Africa context, if we're going to create work for these young people, we need to become service oriented, not product oriented. And the services companies are also the ones that tend to hire entry level talent, because the product companies want people with 5 years experience, 10 years experience, with PhDs, deep knowledge, because you're trying to create this game changing thing that will be a monopoly. Right, so you have to be deeply trained, and and so forth. And so there's a chicken and egg problem. So people train a lot of young people, and then they go to product companies, and they're like, "No, I need someone with 10 years experience." And they're like, "How am I going to get experience?" What the service companies do is they take on a project from a company, like we'll configure your Salesforce, we'll build your website. They're not giving you the talent; they're giving you the solution, right? And then that product, cloud migration project or Salesforce configuration or whatever cybersecurity solution might need only 5 senior people in it, but they'll staff it with 25 people. And on that are lots of juniors who are learning on the job, essentially they're apprentices, right? And then they're getting that's how they go from being a junior developer to a mid-level developer to senior developer. And the client doesn't see their mistakes. The client doesn't see all the learning on the job. They just see the end result. The partner just goes and presents, here's the wonderful thing, right? And so that apprenticeship model is the vehicle that we need in order to service. So what it needs to happen, Africa needs to build out companies like Accenture, Infosys, Tata Consulting Services. India, 97% of the people who work in the tech sector work in these service companies, not in the product companies. The market for services is way bigger than the market for tech products, because the number of people who can hire an engineer and actually know what to do with it are very few, because to effectively use an entry-level engineer or even an experienced person, you need a whole management system, right? You need a CTO, you need a software architect, you need a product manager, you need Scrum Master, and all these things that will actually manage the talent because tech people and tech talent are unique, and to deliver a technology project, you need all these specialized skills. So they just come to you and like, just give me the app. Yeah. Just build my platform. Just build my website. Just manage my cybersecurity. And that's where then there's much more opportunity for work. But then you have to be a service company, because if you come to okay, I'll give you a Java developer, they're like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't have a CTO. So that's been my biggest learning. And so we are building today the equivalent of that. We are building the Accenture of Africa, where our ambition is to employ several 100,000, maybe even 1 million engineers. And then you go to companies and you don't offer them talent, you offer them a solution. Yeah. And then under that solution, you hide all the people that you're training. And then they get work experience, and that's how we create jobs in Africa.